Simple dignity. How President Biden's visit to Ireland tells the story of blue-collar Joe back home. Joe Biden was addressing the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers in Chicago last May, explaining how middle-class folks just want to provide for their families, when he returned to his favorite word. As my grandfather would say, maybe it's the Irish of it. The word dignity. The simple dignity, the president said. Biden has long made his Irish Catholic heritage central to his political identity, reciting Irish sayings, poems, humor and tales of his ancestors with regularity in an appeal, above all, to the common man. Next week, Biden will make his first presidential trip to Ireland for a 4-day swing, stopping first in Belfast to commemorate the 25th anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement that ended civil war in Northern Ireland, before revisiting where his ancestors lived in Ireland. Yet the trip is also a way for Biden to connect with voters at home, allowing him to reintroduce his Irish-American roots, and lean into his economic message of dignity, as he works to win back working-class voters who have fled the Democratic Party. Joe Biden, in many respects, is a much more typical Irish American than Jack Kennedy, said Brendan O'Leary, a professor of political science at the University of Pennsylvania, contrasting Biden's humble upbringing to the enormous family wealth of the nation's other Irish Catholic president. Literally, an ordinary Joe. Irish values feed working-class pitch. Biden uses his Irish-American identity to cast himself as a political fighter and champion the hard-working American, the little guy fighting the odds, who deserves a chance even if lacking financial resources. It's Biden's way of speaking the language of a factory worker even though he's a millionaire. Their work has borne centuries of fruit, Biden said, recognizing Irish immigrants at a White House St. Patrick's Day celebration last month. And their values have been passed down, generation to generation, around countless Irish-American dinner tables just like the one I grew up in. Ahead of the 2024 presidential election, Biden is leaning into those values to promote his economic agenda, one he says is aimed at places and people that have been forgotten. The Biden administration is leveraging the power of the federal government to expand U.S. manufacturing of computer microchips and electric vehicles. Biden talks about turning depleted factory towns in the Midwest into manufacturing hotbeds of a new green economy. It's an appeal to non-college educated voters, particularly white voters, who have turned Republican during the raging culture wars of the past decade. Every worker deserves to be treated with dignity, Biden said Tuesday in Fridley, Minnesota, speaking inside a facility that builds low and zero-carbon engines for trucks. How the image of the Irish-American politician was born. Timothy Marr, retired associate professor at Catholic University, said the image of an Irish politician as the common man was cultivated over time as Irish Americans embraced their working-class stature and made elitism the enemy. Early Irish immigrants were depicted in American literature as dumb and bumbling, stereotypes that author Hugh Henry Brackenridge played off in his 1792 political satire Modern Chivalry. In the book, an Irish servant named Teague uses his plain-speaking appeal to become an American hero with ambitions to run for Congress. Breckinridge thought this was an indictment of the Irish, but in a way, in a democratic society, that's a useful way to be understood, Marr said. That image as working-class people pushes to a certain degree up to the present, even though it's long been true that the Irish are no longer mostly blue-collar workers. Biden's political brand contains two central themes to Irish-American politics, according to Marr: principles of egalitarianism and communal solidarity, the idea that we're all in this together. My mother's creed is the American creed, Biden said in his 2008 Democratic National Convention speech accepting the vice presidential nomination. No one is better than you. Everyone is your equal, and everyone is equal to you. Biden uses Irish heritage for humor and empathy. Biden reminds his audience of his Irish roots in almost any situation. He uses it to empathize with Black Americans seeking racial justice, identify with plights of immigrants and address conflicts in other countries. unmistakably a son of Ireland. Ireland Prime Minister, or Taoiseach, Leo Varadkar, visiting the White House last month, joked that all US presidents are a little bit Irish on St. Patrick's Day, but Biden is unmistakably a son of Ireland. President Biden, in your life story we see reflected the story of Ireland, he said. Biden last visited Ireland in 2017 after taking an ancestral trip the year before. His son, Beau Biden, who died of brain cancer in 2015, had talked about taking the family to Ireland to see firsthand the places and people described by Joe Biden's late mother. It was almost a way of leave-taking, of his son, but also of his mother, said Fitzsimons, one of the genealogists who met the Biden family in Ireland in June 2016. Biden, according to Fitzsimons, came equipped with family stories written down over the years. We verified those stories, she said. Biden, in his memoir, Promise Me, Dad, recounted something former Democratic New York Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan told him. To fail to understand that life is going to knock you down is to fail to understand the Irishness of life. But hardship isn't even half the whole story of Irishness, he continued, recalling the optimism his grandfather Finnegan often passed on. Keep the faith, Joey. Remember the best drop of blood in you is Irish. That's today's latest news. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment so that this channel can continue to exist. Thank you for listening to the end and I hope it's useful.